603 score and 6. 603 score and 6. 603 score and 6.
Discovering the truth in a world full of lies is no small task, and not nearly as simple as it may seem. Most people are so naive, gullible, and trusting that their standard for finding truth is as easy as turning on the nightly news. The news anchors present current events in straightforward, one-dimensional terms, offering little to no supporting evidence or historical context, little to no impartial analysis or discussion of alternative viewpoints, and downplaying or omitting any legitimate skepticism. Most school textbooks operate the same way, treating complex subjects with a broad potential of perspectives, possibilities, and competing evidence, as if there is only one easy, correct answer. The theory of evolution, for example, is taught in school textbooks as settled science, and students are simply required to remember and regurgitate the only option they are given onto their test papers. Likewise, the heliocentric globe model is presented in every public schoolroom and textbook as gospel truth, with no discussion or analysis of geocentric flat earth material. All evidence and arguments are omitted completely, downplayed as historical ignorance, and demanded to be forgotten about, or else you will fail. True skepticism, critical thinking, and in-depth analysis cannot survive such a regimen of unquestioning obedience. Modern media outlets and school systems present information in such a dumbed-down, one-dimensional, dictatorial fashion that most people no longer even recognize critical thinking as being an intellectual activity. Try presenting alternative evidence or an alternative viewpoint that challenges the mainstream understanding of most any subject, and watch what happens. Rather than being perceived as a keen, astute observer for pointing out problems or inconsistencies in mainstream beliefs, you will more likely be seen as stupid and kooky for using your critical faculties. Rather than being receptive, patient, open, and interested, more often than not, people become unreceptive, impatient, closed off, and uninterested in hearing any information that runs contrary to their preconceived notions. The masses have been trained that intelligence is as easy as memorizing and repeating whatever the current majority consensus is on any given topic. Similarly, they've been trained that skepticism is synonymous with stupidity, and that people who dare question the consensus and present evidence that runs contrary to it must just be morons who didn't get the memo that this subject has been deemed beyond reproach. If you doubt this, just try researching one of the many subjects society has decided are so beyond skepticism that having an opinion contrary to the majority gets you labeled as being a quote-unquote denier, such as vaccines, the Holocaust, COVID, or climate change. If you begin spouting information that could pigeonhole you as potentially being a denier of such blasphemous, unspeakable subjects, watch how quickly someone steps up to censor you. In truth, the real denial in such instances is that of these accusers to actually hear out the claims, read these books deemed so heretical, and to research and honestly consider the arguments presented. As F. Scott Fitzgerald noted, the truest sign of intelligence is the ability to entertain two contradictory ideas simultaneously. Or as Aristotle said, nothing is more challenging than the ability to study, debate, and think through a concept without immediately accepting or rejecting it. This is the logical and necessary first step for anyone genuinely seeking the truth. Like a detective attempting to solve a case, honest investigation into every clue, each piece of evidence, and all possible perspectives must be considered without bias. If you haven't done your due diligence in deeply researching and considering every angle and alternative before closing a case, you may be making a big mistake, believing in some bunk, or accusing innocent people. This means scouring libraries and the internet, reading multiple books and articles, watching documentaries, listening to interviews, attending lectures, and assimilating all the information available on a subject. Defenders of the heliocentric globe theory, for example, will often boast that they have done their due diligence in researching the geocentric flat Earth model, but have never read a single book on the subject. Believers in evolution and creationism alike often fall prey to this same bias. Either they believe creation because of their religion, or believe in evolution because of modern science, but seldom do people really delve deeply into both, giving adequate time, effort, and energy to understanding each before coming to conclusions. This is the first step to discovering the truth, collecting and considering all available information about a topic from every perspective and without bias. Once you have acquired a broad and nuanced comprehension of a subject, having researched all evidence and perspectives, the next step to finding the truth is a process of elimination in negating falsehoods. What this means is rather than immediately trying to determine which among a given list of possibilities is the truth, it is better to first determine which options are definitely false. For example, when it comes to events like the JFK assassination or the 9/11 attacks, saying with 100% certainty exactly what happened, precisely how and why it transpired, and who is responsible, is no small task. However, with even cursory research into these events, it is actually quite easy to debunk and discount the impossible official stories. A single magic bullet simply cannot strike one man in the head, then proceeding on to hit another man in the back, chest, wrist, and thigh, only to be recovered afterwards in nearly pristine condition. Similarly, 2 planes simply cannot bring down 3 reinforced steel buildings due to jet fuel fires in under 10 seconds. Debunking the impossible official stories of these incidents is relatively easy and illustrates why arriving at truth through process of elimination is so effective. By first looking to negate false claims, rather than to affirm positive ones, the truth will come into clearer and clearer view until it is ultimately left as the only viable option. Sometimes a lack of evidence may leave multiple viable options, or make it difficult to confirm exactly what happened, but through this process of elimination, it is always possible to narrow down the possibilities and come to certain conclusions. The masses are not used to processing or receiving information in this fashion, however, because most people, pundits, media outlets, teachers, textbooks, and experts alike tend to present their claims in straightforward, authoritative, one-dimensional, positive statements without acknowledging alternative viewpoints or legitimate skepticism. In contrast, a genuine truth seeker will usually sound unsure, less authoritative, and more focused on making negative statements about the things that can be debunked and proven false. Imagine it like a police chief at a press conference versus a detective in his smoky office room. People feel reassured by the positive, simple, straightforward, authoritative claims the police chief makes at the press conference. But how would they feel listening to the broader, deeper, more nuanced, and less certain claims coming from the lead detective being candid in his office? The detective would probably come off sounding less authoritative and convincing than the police chief, but ironically, his detailed explanations would be far closer to the truth. This is one big obstacle with truth-seeking and truth-speaking. Liars can confidently and bombastically spout their rehearsed lies with refined rhetoric and authoritative intonation that sounds positive, intelligent, and reassuring to gullible ears. Meanwhile, genuine truth-seekers, honestly expressing themselves and attempting to convey their broad, deep, and nuanced understandings, may ironically sound negative, unsure, and unauthoritative by comparison. Well aware of this phenomenon, 4 years after the JFK assassination, in 1967, the CIA circulated a now declassified memo, Dispatch 1035-960, advising CIA field offices to label alternative explanations as, quote, conspiracy theories, and to label their proponents as conspiracy theorists. The CIA wanted people seeking and speaking the truth about the JFK cover-up to be publicly perceived as untrustworthy and unintelligent. Popularizing the term conspiracy theorist was a brilliant way to make intelligent, diligent, passionate researchers be perceived instead as kooky, paranoid autists peddling mere theories. The fact of the matter is that when you gather evidence and debunk falsehoods through a process of elimination, arriving closer and closer to the truth, like a detective does, you will inevitably have several running theories of possibilities. Labeling this natural process of truth-seeking as conspiracy theorizing makes this necessary step in discovering truth sound very much like the opposite. In reality, however, government conspiracies and cover-ups have been rampant throughout history up to modern day, and acknowledging that fact is a necessary step, giving us permission to re-engage our critical faculties when it comes to seeking and speaking the truth.
People want to be sheep. They don't want autonomy. People want to be controlled. They want a shepherd. If you want to be a sheep to psychopaths, go ahead. I don't want to hear it here. Same shit that we've heard 1,000 times and debunked, but yet they still keep saying it. I've heard all your dumb arguments. We were raised with this bullshit. Elementary school, middle school, high school, college, all of it. It's bullshit. It's like they act like we're the crazy people. You sound so fucking stupid when you talk flat earth. 8 inches per mile squared? That's stupid. And no, it isn't. That's the equation of the curve of the alleged globe. There is no curve. There's literally no curve. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And that terrifies a certain type of human being. I just don't feel that. And so then they'll just latch on to anything that allows them to stay in the lie. It is a lie. You have to be fucking at this point to not see that no one played golf on the moon and broke the technology and can't return. Those are the childlike lies of a psychopath, okay? That's not even close to a sophisticated lie. Not even close. All such a low-level psychopathy. It's such low-level lies. Think an abstract thought. Without commitment, you just think. Some people can't do that. Some people are incapable of abstract thought. Can't you just think? Can't you just ponder? They can't. I've looked myself into the nature of this reality, and it is not a spinning ball. Every single proof they give shows it can't be. My whole childhood, because I have a memory, I'm not a broken sheep. I'm not a goldfish. They told me that the boat goes over the curve, and that's why you can only see the mast and all that. They said that. They did not say that was because the fucking light bent. They gave me one lie, and then I said, well, I can see it now. I can zoom it in. Oh, the light bent. So it never was the curve then. It was one of the main things they said, but I now completely understand how that illusion works. The technology has outpaced the lie. With a P900 camera, you can zoom in and you see it plain as day, 50 miles away, no curve whatsoever. Oh, the light bends. It's an optical, the light bends. No, when I was a kid, you never said the fucking light bent. You said that was the curve. Well, now, so in the 1990s, you didn't know? So show me where you guys learned that it wasn't a curve, that it's actually because the light bends. Like, it's like when you call up finance or whatever. Finance. You're crazy. You're insane. You're crazy. You should be in a mental institution. Why? Everything that we see looks like we're on a flat, not moving plane. All ancient religions think we're on including Christianity, believes we're on a flat, not moving plane. So I have to trust the people telling me we're not, and they have to have an argument that makes logical sense, which they don't and they never have. And it's the reaction shows the lie. They're so stupid. They're so crazy. You make yourself look really dumb when you say that. I'm like, of all the things that makes you react with such vitriol, ego, intensity, it shouldn't matter at all to people. Oh, it just makes you sound totally insane. No, that reaction showed me that there's truth to it. What's seen as crazy is just looking around and saying, okay, my eyes tell me this is not a curve. Why wouldn't someone trust their eyes and their ears and their hands and their nose and their mouth and their logic? I go up in a plane, I don't see a curve. They go up 120,000 feet, I don't see a curve. I see fisheye lenses. Okay, I can do math. I can do experiments with a P900 camera. I don't think it looks like a spinning ball. Okay, I have to trust scientists, and I know they're lying. They lie all the time. Their information keeps coming back false. Snipers have to factor in the Coriolis effect. No, they don't. I'm friends with a ton of snipers. Most snipers I know are flat earthers. There's nothing in the cockpit that factors in the curve of the Earth. Zero, nothing. But what about satellites? Satellites are bullshit. Why do you lose cell connection in a valley? Well, cell connections from cell towers, not satellites. They triangulated it. If you could make a fucking phone call from the moon in 1969, why do I lose reception on my property based on mountains? Huh? Doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, they can't explain it without just going, well, the satellite beams it down to the tower, and then the tower will broadcast, and then, no, or it's just towers. Why don't more satellites get hit by space junk? The amount of space junk, the amount of just anything in orbit, screws, anything. Any one of those things going 10,000 miles an hour, that's way faster than any bullet. And if it just grazes a satellite, that satellite will need to be repaired. How do you bring it to Earth? How do you crash it to Earth? And you set up another one? How often does that happen? How many times do we have to replace the satellite since the Cold War? None? This is the problem with psychopathic liars. They'll say a lie to sell one thing, to get something, and then they'll sell a contradictory lie to get something else. And then when you, the non-psychopath, says, well, how can those two things exist simultaneously? Like they said that the Earth is surrounded by space junk. That tens of thousands of miles an hour, there's little screws and doodads flying everywhere. Okay, so then how is there the ISS then? I don't think there's one grain of space junk up there because I don't believe in orbits. Do I think that there's things in the sky moving over us? Yes. Yes, I do. They have drones, balloons, huge network up there. But do I think they're going 15,000 miles an hour so they fall with the gravity of the Earth and they stay there for decades without needing any maintenance or running into space junk or any particles and destroying them? And their fragile tech just keeps working and broadcasting things? No, of course not.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Do you think that in 1969 they landed on the moon and played golf? Do you believe that? Why wouldn't you question more of the things they said? Why would you believe anything else they say? Especially when you can identify gaslighting.
A lie is a lie, and it don't matter how many dumb sheeple believe it. And the truth is the truth, hiding right out in plain sight, and still people don't see it. Man, this shit got me heated, and I won't stop till the elite are being defeated. They keep us deceived about everything that we think, and they keep it a secret. What we're taught is not conducive with reality. Big bang, evolution, and there's gravity. I tell the truth, and then these motherfuckers laugh at me, telling me the earth is Photoshop because it has to be. Most people accept the deception happily, but what they're doing to us all is a tragedy. God created the heavens and the earth in a verse, but we're living in a
Limits on the galaxy.
They say we're monkeys on a ball flying through outer space, but there's no proof, it seems to have vanished without a trace. NASA and other agencies falling down from grace. You can take that bullshit pseudoscience and get out my face. I'm the antisocial type, you're a government prototype. That's why you make it a point to tell me that I'm crazy every time you're angry, cause you know I'm right. I'm standing outside the house of cards about to watch it fall. No more living on a cartoon ball. Horizon means horizontal. Indoctrination is awful because you're taught the glow bottle. Ever since y'all could crawl, we follow rapists and murderers, liars, thieves, and sun worshippers, saying we can't see curvature cause we're all too small. And though it's never been proven, they say we're ripping and shooting. The earth is spinning and moving. Oh no, not at all. It's a criminal enterprise where deception intensifies. NASA's got us all living like on a cartoon ball. They say that we went to the moon 6 times, but pure BS is the way that smelled. Now they're telling us that we can't even leave the planet because of the Van Allen radiation belt. Yeah, okay, sure. NASA, what you lying for? You lying now, you lied before. I can't take this anymore. The only thing they took to space was your imagination. Fake aliens are coming, now they have you waiting. We need to do something about it, no procrastination. Trying to cause the masses to awaken, that's the path I've taken. But you can see if you check all the percentages, so many people having cognitive dissonance. But that's what happens at the loss of your innocence. Then you get involved with all of this wickedness. They try to do all the humans this way. So are they just idiots? Who is to say? Conditioned by the television, it makes your decisions, opinions, and you just obey. Stuck in the material domain of Satan, where everything in each and every day is vacant. Mandela effect, cause the game is changing. People waking up and now the cage is shaking. The earth is flat, and that is a universal fact. If it isn't that, then tell me where the fuck the curve is at. They tell us that we can't see it because we're all too small. And now we're spinning on a cartoon ball. Horizon means horizontal. Indoctrination is awful because you're taught the globe model. Ever since y'all could crawl, we follow rapists and murderers, liars, thieves, and sun worshippers, saying we can't see curvature cause we're all too small. And though it's never been proven, they say we're ripping and shooting. The earth is spinning and moving. Oh no, not at all. It's a criminal enterprise where deception intensifies. NASA's got us all living like on a cartoon ball.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.